Hi folks, welcome back to Ferrigno Freedom channel. For those of you who are returning, for those of you who are here for the first time, my name is Dante Ferrigno and I've been on a carnivore way of eating for a little over 3.5 years now, and it has just done amazing things for me. But all that's for another video. Today I'm here to do a reaction video to something I saw on the web today that looked kind of interesting, and I've heard from Dr. Paul Mason before, but today I'm going to be reacting to this video that just came out recently called Dr. Paul Mason, Junk Science Trashes Low Carb, a Response. And I wanted to hear what he was talking about because right now I am pretty excited about what I'm seeing with the Make America Healthy Again movement, because that has been what I've been trying to do for over the last 3 years, is sharing my story, is helping to not only make America healthy again, but everybody start to pay attention to what's going on with our food and with pharmaceuticals and with government intervention, because all of these things seem to be ganging up against us to make us sick, fat, and unhealthy. And that's exactly where I found myself 3.5 years ago. And I've had so many people tell me that they were in a similar position to where I was and have been able to turn it around because of a carnivore way of eating. Now, I'm not saying carnivore is the only option for anybody out there, but it sure is a good option. I can tell you it's been something that I never thought would even be possible, but it's something that I look back on now and I'm like, I love every single day what I have to eat. It's not like times where I used to fad diet in the past and eat salads and all that kind of garbage. This is just loving life and eating good food on a regular basis and reaping the rewards in my body and in my mental health and in my spiritual health in ways that I never thought would be possible. So I know there's going to be people out there who are attacking the carnivore way of eating or even just attacking low carb. I've seen amazing stories where people are talking about things like Lucky Charms being healthier than a ribeye steak. I mean, these notions are just absolutely insane. But in this day and age, it seems very common that people are going to say things that are total opposite of the truth and expect you to swallow that. The sad thing is a lot of people still are swallowing a lot of those lies and a lot of this ultra-processed food and a lot of this sugar and a lot of these seed oils. So let's take a look at what Dr. Paul Mason has taken a look at today. I'm going to go ahead and open up this video.
G'day, I'm Dr. Paul Mason. On Tuesday just gone, several newspapers around the country published an opinion piece by my good friend and 2020 Australian of the Year, Dr. James Mukey. It defended red meat from both a health and environmental perspective, addressing several false claims commonly used to demonise red meat. James pointed out that there is in fact no compelling evidence that reducing red meat offers any health benefit. Claims that red meat is unhealthy are largely based on what we call junk science, typically using poor quality research known as nutritional epidemiology, which every scientist worth their salt knows is terribly limited in what it can tell us. James also attacked some of the environmental and ethical claims made against red meat. He points out that 97% of agricultural land in Australia is simply too rocky, steep, or arid to grow crops, which makes claims that cattle are monopolising agricultural land in Australia laughable. The fact is, without livestock, 97% of the agricultural land in Australia would go to waste. 97%. So much for food security. The fact is, everything James said in his article was based on fact. And equally important, it was being shared with the Australian public. Which makes it somewhat unfortunate that 2 days later, on Thursday, the 5th of September, one of Australia's largest media companies, Fairfax Media, published an article nationally claiming harm from low-carbohydrate diets. That it came so soon after the publication of James' opinion piece, in my view, is unfortunate. Some other doctors I've spoken to even interpret this as being some sort of a rebuttal.
It's more than unfortunate. It's exactly the kind of thing we expect today. Anytime it seems somebody is talking about something that's true, that actually helps people get healthier or achieve their freedom or be able to be independent as opposed to dependent on government regulations and guidelines, there's always somebody out there that wants to come attack that, because those who are in power right now don't want to relinquish that power. And a lot of the ones we see on the scene really are just the puppets. It's the people behind the scenes, the people in the World Economic Forum, people with billions and billions of dollars spending money, putting things in the place that they want them to be in so that they can basically be their own masters of the universe and play with our lives like this because they really don't want us here anyway. So you're going to expect to hear rebuttals to things that are true. And it really causes people to have a hard time figuring out what to listen to, what's true. Well, all I can say is the results for me speak for themselves. I've lost close to 100 pounds since I started eating this way. I've never been under 200 pounds in my life since I was a teenager, and I was able to achieve the lowest amount of body fat on my body doing a carnivore way of eating. Now, not only was I able to get all that extra fat off, but I've had the vitality and the strength that I haven't had since I was a teenager. I mean, I'm about to be 52 years old. Back when I was 48, I was already ready to throw in the towel on health. I was already thinking I'm in the cycle now. I've got to go see the doctor every 3 months to get my medicines re-upped and everything. But I went to my doctor the last time, sometime in 2022, I believe it was, and I didn't have to make a new appointment when I left because I didn't need any refills on anything. I didn't need any prescriptions to be refilled. And I thought, man, this is a comforting thing to be not required to come back and ask for permission to have something that's going to put a Band-Aid on my problem and not actually cure anything, not actually fix any root cause. That was all because of a carnivore way of eating. But then when you got people that want to come out and bash a diet like this that has helped so many people, that has helped me, that could probably help you if you haven't started a way of eating like this, to find out what you could achieve by getting all this junk food out of your life. It just breaks my heart that there's so many people out there who want to attack something that actually helps people have the freedom and the independence in their life that comes from a good way of eating, like a carnivore or a low-carb diet. I'll tell you something, when I'm just getting home from work and it's late at night and I don't feel like making a whole steak, I am really glad I've got Carnivore Bar handy. This gives me something that I can munch on right when I get home and I don't have to feel like I'm doing anything I shouldn't be doing. And how could you go wrong with these ingredients? Grass-finished beef, grass-finished tallow, Redmond real salt. Can't go wrong. Carnivore Bar. Get yours using my link and code in the description.
While James cited concrete scientific fact, this latter article was wholly based on junk science. It was titled, "Low Carb, High Fat Diets for Weight Loss Actually Boost Risk of Type 2 Diabetes." In short, this headline implies that low carb, high fat diets can cause diabetes, and that is simply wrong. I hope this was an editing error by a journalist or a media person who wrote the article and not written by one of the study authors. For to claim causality when it is not supported by evidence would basically amount to academic misconduct. The point is, the methodology of this study means that it cannot, and I repeat, cannot demonstrate whether or not changes in the diet influence the development of diabetes. The claim in the article's headline is manifestly false and misleading, which is why a number of my medical and scientific colleagues and I are calling for it to be retracted. Now, putting this deceptive headline to one side, it is also a fact that based on the study's data, any suggestion that the low-carb, high-fat diet was associated, not caused by, but merely associated with diabetes, is most likely explained by random chance. Hardly something to hang your hat on in the national media. You see, the rate of diabetes in the study subjects, who were followed for about 14 years, was similar enough between those with high and low carbohydrate intakes that they did not reach what is known as statistical significance. That is, the results were so underwhelming that they could not be distinguished from random chance. There is also the inconvenient fact that this study didn't even look at low-carb diets, despite being prominently advertised in the article headline. Generally speaking, even relaxed low-carb diets will have an intake of carbohydrates which is less than 30% of total energy. The thing is, of the 5 arbitrary groups within this study, those with the lowest carbohydrate intake were still consuming, on average, 37.5% carbs. How can research studying ostensibly high-carb diets then turn around and make a claim about low-carb diets? Could you even make this up? And then we come to the elephant in the room, seed oils.
I'm glad he's going to go into seed oils. It's clear he's reading from a script here, which I don't mind. I've had to do that in the past when I wanted to make sure I got it right, and that's what he's trying to do here. He's trying to make sure he conveys everything he wanted to convey in a very short period of time. When you hear a study like that and you just see the headline and it says low-carb diets cause type 2 diabetes, and then when you dig into the study, supposedly study, is that one, there was no statistical difference that was visible in what they saw. And then when you find out that they're actually having a lot of carbohydrates, most of the time I'm having no carbohydrates in a day. And the reason I say most of the time is sometimes I've had bacon, and bacon typically has 1 to 2 grams of carbohydrates depending on how it's made. But even with those added things in my diet, I'm still getting less than 10 grams of carbohydrates a day. And we're talking about a whole lot more when you're talking 37% of the calories are coming from carbohydrates. That's not a low-carb diet. So it's basically misleading, false advertising, however you want to look at it, fake news, and it's often propagated by the people who claim to be trying to get rid of misinformation and disinformation. And it's upsetting because so many people don't know which way to go. Well, like I say, results speak for themselves, as far as I'm concerned.
You see, even if we accept the thrust of this article that low-carb, high-fat diets caused an increase in diabetes, we still face a question of whether or not it was the carbs or the fat. And the fact is, the vast majority of the increase in fat consumption in this study was not saturated, which means it was almost certainly due to seed oils. Seed oil consumption was almost certainly the dominant factor explaining differences in fat consumption in this diet, and it is my personal belief that these seed oils, when consumed in high enough doses, can be even more problematic than sugar and carbs in the diet. So there you have it. Just 2 days after an important article educating the public about the demonization of red meat, an article published on Research some months old just happened to be published, which completely misrepresented the science. Claims were made about low-carb diets causing diabetes that was not supported by either the methodology of the study or the results and data within the study itself. The assertions being made were even more compromised by the fact that it was a study of higher carb diets and not low-carb diets. And it ignored the elephant in the room, completely ignored the elephant in the room of seed oils. If nothing else, this should make us even more vigilant about avoiding these plant-based oils. Stay well, everyone.
Wanted to let him get his last word in there. All right. And the thing about seed oils is I run into this a lot when people ask me about starting on a carnivore way of eating. They ask me, what do you cook your steak with? What oils are you using? And apparently they haven't seen all the videos where I address seed oils, or any of the other carnivore channels out there address seed oils. Seed oils is like, people don't even think about it. It's so often used when cooking a steak that they'll spray the pan with Pam or Vegeline or something like that, or maybe they'll pour some canola oil in or some Wesson or whatever they want to put in there because they don't want it to stick to the pan. Those oils and sprays are defeating the purpose of eating a low-carb diet, because you're not only getting carbohydrates, but you're getting stuff that's not even meant for people to eat. These seed oils, like cottonseed oil, for instance, was just a byproduct of the cotton production itself. And they're like, well, what do we do with this stuff? Well, let's crush it up and see what it comes out of it. That, when it would solidify, looked a lot like lard, except that it was dirty looking. So they would actually bleach the lard looking substance, get all the stink out of it by washing it and purifying it or whatever they would do with it. But essentially that's how they got it to look white. And that's what Crisco is. Well, they decided, well, hey, we can sell this stuff we normally throw away as industrial lubricants. Now they realize that if they can make it look like lard and they can advertise it as a vegetable product and claim that it's healthy as a result of that, now we can sell it in much larger quantities because the whole public will be interested in it, not just industrial companies that need something to lubricate their machinery. So this is why seed oils entered the food lexicon. It was simply a marketing scheme to sell something that they had very little use for beforehand. And it certainly didn't help that people like Ancel Keys came along and started making seed oils a big part of the human diet for health purposes, to help people fight bad cholesterol, to help people fight heart disease, when actually what they're eating was causing the problems. The things that they were being told by researchers like Ancel Keys were specifically paid for by the companies that made the seed oils, by the companies that made the sugars, by the companies that grew the wheat and the corn to put in our cereals. Those were the companies that were financing his studies. And anything that didn't agree that these were the healthy alternative that people could eat was ignored in those studies. And that's one of the big reasons why where we are today. So if you're interested in being a part of what's going on right now with Make America Healthy Again, I would encourage you to look at a carnivore diet. Go back and watch my very first video, 125 Days on Lion Diet, and you'll get a good look at where I came from and where I wound up in just 4 short months. If you want, you can go to my website and sign up for my mailing list, as I plan to be having some information available very soon that talks about the different versions of the carnivore diet that are available and what they might address for you based on my experience and all my research over the past 3.5 years. I hope you'll find it useful. You can also check out a lot of the products I use there on my website in the merchandise catalog link that's on the page, where you can see the air fryers that I use and the kitchen utensils, the salt that I use. I love my Redmond real salt. I also use electrolyte mix from Redmond. I've been really happy with Redmond since the 3.5 years I've been using their product, and I even became an affiliate. So any of the purchases that you make off the website do support what I'm trying to do here, and that's to help more people get healthy. You can also buy merch like the shirt that I'm wearing now and a lot of other shirts. So I appreciate you checking out the video today, and I'll see you guys next time.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?